Residential report writing and case studies. Chapter 3, appraisal report, page 31. Where to disclose prior services. For appraisers who rely on pre-printed report forms, this new certification requirement will necessitate adding an additional certification in the report. It is unlikely that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will be revising their report forms to include this certification. So it is the appraiser's responsibility to make sure that his or her certification statement complies with USPAP. Some appraisal software programs have white space that the appraiser can type additional certifications on page 6 of the URAR form. Other software companies do not provide this functionality. If your software company does not have this capacity, you will need to insert this statement labeled as additional certification in a comment section or in an addendum. Some software companies have created an addendum form which includes this additional USPAP required certification. Regardless of the form, format, or style of the report, this certification is required by USPAP. Another short quiz is next. End of page. Page 32, check your understanding. This quiz has a total of 3 questions. There will be 1 question per page. You must achieve 66% to pass this quiz. Start quiz. Number 1. If an appraisal report indicates 3 comparable sales adjusted to indicate $210,000, $220,000, and $230,000. The appraiser is not required to explain why he or she reconciled the value indication at $220,000. True or false? I'm going to go false. Number 2. Rocky completes an appraisal on a small commercial building and he does not develop the cost approach. What are his reporting requirements for an appraisal report regarding the cost approach? A. He must explain the omission of the approach. B. He must develop this approach in every commercial assignment. C. He is not required to explain the omission of the approach if the client had asked him to omit it. Or D. He should state in the report that he developed the cost approach and the results are retained in his work file. I'm going to go A. He must explain the omission of the approach. And lastly, number 3. In an appraisal report, the appraiser's opinion of highest and best use must be blank. A. Stated. B. Described. C. Omitted. Or D. Summarized. I'm going to go D. Summarized. Assessment completed. Finish. You passed. You got 100%. So remember, number one, if an appraisal report indicates 3 comparable sales adjusted to indicate 210,000, 220,000, and 230,000, the appraiser is not required to explain why he or she reconciled the value indication at $220,000. True or false? You said false, and that was correct. Number 2, Rocky completes an appraisal on a small commercial building, and he does not develop the cost approach. What are his reporting requirements for an appraisal report regarding the cost approach? You said he must explain the omission of the approach, and that was correct. And lastly, number 3, in an appraisal report, the appraiser's opinion of highest and best use must be, you said, summarized, and that was correct. Continue. Page 33, summary. In this third chapter, we went over Standards Rule 2-2 in detail. The appraisal report is most commonly used real property appraisal report option, and its requirements are detailed in Standards Rule 2-2A. Each of the 12 numbered requirements for the appraisal report was discussed in detail. We outlined the requirement for appraisers to disclose in the report certification any prior services regarding the subject property that were provided by the appraiser within the past 3 years, and the certification requirement regarding prior services. Time for another end of chapter quiz. Click here if you would like to open this chapter as a PDF, which you can then print or save to your device. Chapter 3, end of page.